All right, today we are pulling back the curtain on artificial intelligence. We're going to tear down the official story everyone's been telling you and look at what's really going on behind the scenes. You've heard it a million times, right? Every single day, we're basically sold one of two stories. Story number one, AI is our savior. It's going to bring about this incredible future of human flourishing. Story number two, AI is the villain, the existential threat that can mean, and this is a real quote, lights out for everyone. So, we have to choose, utopia or apocalypse. But what if that whole dramatic choice isn't the real story at all? What if it's actually just a very, very smart myth, a narrative designed to convince us that only a tiny group of powerful people can control this tech, forcing all of us to just pick a side in a war they invented? So to really get what's going on, we need a totally new way of looking at this. Let's just set aside the whole good AI versus evil AI debate for a minute. Instead, let's look at this industry through the lens of power, of control, and of something journalist Karen Hao calls the AI empire. Okay, so what is an empire of AI? Well, it's this really powerful way to reframe these giant tech companies. They're not just innovators, see. They're basically modern-day empires. They extract resources that aren't theirs, they exploit labor all over the world, and they fight tooth and nail to control the story we tell about them. And these empires, they're all built on four key pillars. First, they monopolize resources. We're talking our data, our creative work, even the actual land they need for their giant data centers. Second, they exploit a hidden global workforce. Third, they control knowledge, funding almost all the research and pretty effectively silencing their critics. And finally, number four, they dominate the narrative. And that's that whole utopia versus apocalypse story we started with. Look, to make this all feel real, let's zoom in and go inside one of the most powerful empires out there, OpenAI. The company that gave us all ChatGPT. Their story is a perfect case study in this raw, messy struggle for power and control. OpenAI's journey has been, it's been anything but smooth. It started out as a nonprofit that was supposed to save humanity, but right away, its powerful founders started clashing. Then it twisted into a for-profit beast, and it all boiled over with the crazy firing and then lightning-fast rehiring of its CEO, Sam Altman. That 5-day drama basically ripped the curtain off and showed everyone the deep cracks inside the empire. And this is where the storytelling, that narrative control, gets really interesting. Way back in 2015, Sam Altman himself wrote this really dire warning. He said AI was this huge threat to humanity. Sounds like a really sincere founder, just grappling with the weight of his own creation, right? Well, here's the thing. That warning, it just so happened to use the exact same language that Elon Musk was using all the time back then. See, Altman was writing for an audience of one. He needed to convince a very skeptical Musk to help him start and fund OpenAI. Musk even said later he felt like he'd been manipulated. This is a perfect example of that fourth pillar. You dominate the narrative to get what you want. And that kind of narrative management just kept going. The board that fired him in 2023, they didn't do it because of some big philosophical fight about AI safety. Nope. According to all the reports, it was simply about trust. They said he created chaos, wasn't always straight with them, and had these financial setups that were murky. Like OpenAI's venture fund, it was legally his. The trust at the very top of the empire had completely broken down. But look, this isn't just about some drama in a boardroom. The choices made inside these empires have huge, real-world costs for all of us. So let's talk about that, the actual impact on the ground. This, right here, is what resource monopoly looks like. To run these AI models, companies need absolutely massive data centers. Meta, for example, is building one in Louisiana right now that's going to be 1/5 the size of Manhattan. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. An AI factory the size of a huge city district built on what used to be farmland. And these things have all these hidden costs. I mean, they don't just take up land. They put a massive strain on public power grids, which can make electricity prices go up for everybody. They drink up billions of gallons of fresh water, a lot of times in places that are already having droughts. And some of them, like one for Elon Musk's AI, are even getting their own fossil fuel power plants, just polluting the air for the local communities. That's the price we all pay. Then you've got the second pillar, labor. We're always told this super optimistic story, right? Sure, maybe some jobs will go away, but AI is going to create all these amazing new jobs we can't even dream of yet. But for a lot of people, the reality is, a whole lot darker. For many, that new job is literally training the AI system that just got them laid off from their old job. It creates this really twisted and vicious cycle that it breaks the career ladder. Think about it. A skilled professional, maybe a marketer, gets laid off. They can't find a similar job, so they end up taking low-wage work labeling data, teaching an AI how to do the exact job they used to have. The AI gets smarter, more people like them get laid off, and those rungs on the ladder that let you climb up in your career, they just disappear. That is modern labor exploitation. So this all sounds pretty bad, but here's the most important part. None of this is set in stone. The empire model is a choice. It's not some law of physics. And if it's a choice, that means we can choose to do things differently. And Karen Hao has this fantastic analogy to help us see the alternative. Think of what we have now as rockets of AI. They're these giant, resource-hungry models built by just scraping the entire internet. They benefit a few people, but the cost, the environmental and social cost, gets pushed onto all of us. But we could be building bicycles of AI. These are smaller, super efficient models that use very specific, clean data. They're built for one purpose, like the AlphaFold model, which is doing amazing things for drug discovery without all the collateral damage. So how do we actually challenge these empires and, encourage more bicycles? Well, the goal isn't to stop technology. It's just to stop their plans from going flawlessly. We can support artists and writers who are suing because their work was stolen for training. We can stand with communities who are protesting these massive data centers. We can get involved in deciding how AI gets used where we work and in our schools. Every little bit of friction, every question asked, it all matters. And at the end of the day, that brings us to the real takeaway here. The problem isn't the technology. It's not about the AI itself. It's about the system of power that's been built around it. A system where a very small, unelected, and unaccountable group of people get to make decisions that are going to fundamentally change billions of lives. The story of AI, its future, it's not finished. It's being built right now, today, with every data center that goes up, with every line of code that's written. And so the question that we're left with is actually pretty simple. Are we just going to let the emperors build it for us? Or are we going to demand a say in the design? Who gets to be the architect?